Hi guys, welcome back. I have been super duper MIA for several months. But as you can see, I have a good reason. I was pregnant, but I'm no longer pregnant. I wanted to come on here and just talk just a tad bit about the horror story that was my miscarriage. I found out that I was pregnant in it was like early to mid, it might have been the second week of March, because I was like 4 weeks pregnant. And yeah, shout out to the Valentine's Day babies. But I was, yeah, about 4 weeks when I found out. And yeah, I was just, before I found out I was pregnant, I was just super tired. I just really could not do anything. But I found out, and the week after I found out was when I had my doctor's appointment, and there they confirmed that I was 5 weeks and like 4 days or something like that. And so I went to a specialist the next day because I'm a type 2 diabetic. So I went to a specialist the next day that works with that particular OB/GYN that I was seeing. And it's just been a mess, honestly. Like the first visit to the specialist, we were there for I think my husband and I waited for 4 hours because my OB's office, it took them four hours to fax over some paperwork after they had already made the appointment for me, because if it's a specialist, you don't make the appointment yourself. The doctor will make it for you, or the doctor's office staff. But anyway, yeah. So I found out on that day that I was, 5 weeks and 5 days, and they didn't see a heartbeat or anything. It was just they called it a fetal pole, but they said everything was looking good. And they made an appointment for 4 weeks out, which was 9 weeks and 5 days, which I would have been 9 weeks and 5 days. So my due date was December 3rd. So then, So maybe like a week after that, in between the first time I saw the specialist and the second time that I was supposed to see the specialist, I was going back and forth to the hospital maybe 3 times because I was bleeding. And so I went to the hospital, and they told me that it was something called a subchorionic bleed. They say it happens to pregnant women all the time, and it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't in any pain. And they would do ultrasound at the hospital, and they would see the baby. And so I went at 6 weeks to the hospital, and then I went again at 7 weeks to the hospital because the bleeding started to get a little worse. So at 7 weeks in 2 days, at 7 weeks and 2 days, they found the heartbeat. It was there, and from that point on, I didn't go back to the hospital because I had an appointment 2 weeks later, and the doctors at the hospital were telling me that everything was fine and just to follow up with my OB. So at my 9 week, 5 days appointment with the specialist, I went in there and everything was all fine. You know, I was still feeling pregnant, and, you know, I was still sick and super tired and still having cravings. I was craving strawberry. I was craving fruit, but I really wanted strawberries and watermelon. But I went into that appointment, and when we got in the room, if you have never been pregnant before, when you have an ultrasound, they're gonna wanna, at least for me, maybe it's because I'm high risk, I'm a type 2 diabetic and I have PCOS, but they always wanna look at like my ovaries and things like that first with the ultrasound. And so she did that, and it was just a abdominal ultrasound. It wasn't like an internal. So she was doing all that, and she kind of scanned over the baby just a little bit, and I didn't see a heartbeat. And it didn't occur to me that anything was wrong, though. I just didn't see the heartbeat. And you know, for a second, I was like, oh, it's, you know, I didn't see the heartbeat. So she just, you know, looking around, telling me my ovaries looked good and everything like that. And then she scanned over the baby again. And then she asked me, excuse me, I'm sorry. And then she asked me to go pee because she wanted to do an internal ultrasound because she said she couldn't get like a really good picture of the baby. So when she told me to get up to pee, she has grabbed her phone and she was texting someone, I didn't know who. And so I went to go pee. I came back, and probably 30 seconds after I came back in the room, the doctor came in the room. And she was doing the internal and still, you know, couldn't see a heartbeat. And he came in there and he introduced himself, and, you know, he was just like, we can't detect a fetal heartbeat. And he asked me to tell him how many days, how far along I was. I told him, you know, I was 9 weeks and 5 days, which is the same thing that they had. And he'd asked me if anything had happened, had I been bleeding, or was I in any pain? And I told him that I had a subchorionic bleed, but that the doctors in the ER told me that it's totally not common. It's very common. So when he told me, I didn't even cry at first. I was just shocked because I was still feeling so sick. And that was just the last thing that I was expecting, to go in there and, you know, and I had my sister with me, which I don't know why, it just felt like so embarrassing. She was there with me, and, you know, of course she was crying and everything. And I was just so shocked that they told me that the baby didn't survive. And then, you know, he was asking me about my history. I had had a miscarriage before I got pregnant with Jade. And then he was saying, you know, there's nothing that I could have did differently, that the baby probably just had, chromosomal abnormalities, which is what they say. If you've ever had a miscarriage, they'll probably tell you that. And that's when I started crying. And it was just like the absolute last thing that I ever expected them to say that day. It was just like, I don't know, it was a nice day. The weather was perfect. My makeup was cute. You know, my outfit was cute. I had my sister with me. My husband had to work. So yeah, then the next day I had to go to my regular OB because she would be the one to handle everything, seeing as how the baby hadn't been expelled from my body. So I went to her office, and she wanted to draw blood and check my HCG levels. She wanted to do it, it was like on a Friday, and then she wanted me to come back that Monday and draw it again. And that way she would be able to tell, you know, if my hormones were dropping, which is an indicator of a miscarriage. So I gave her the paperwork from the specialist, which specified that I'd had a miscarriage. And then I got the blood drawn. I went back on that Monday, got it drawn again. And then I had an appointment with her, another appointment a week out, which I do not know why it was a week out. And then she canceled the day, I was so angry, the day before the appointment at like 6 p.m. they called and canceled it. So needless to say, I wasn't able to go. So basically this was a kind of a back and forth thing for 3 weeks. Then I just got on, the internet and started reading about stuff, and I read that if you have, it's called a miscarriage when the baby doesn't come out. If you have had that, you can take vitamin C to help speed the process along. So it was the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day, yeah, not Labor Day. So I got home at like, I don't know, it might have been like 3 or 4 in the morning. I got off of work, got home, took a shower and everything. And I took the first pill. And I'm sorry, I think this thing is about to cut off. So I took the first vitamin C pill. You have to, they were 500 milligrams, and you have to take them like every 2 hours, I think. And so I set my alarm to wake me up every 2 hours to take it. And I took the first one at like 4 in the morning. And well, I had been spotting for 2 days. So I had a feeling that it was going to happen soon anyway. So anyway, that Thursday morning, Thursday morning. It was Friday morning. It was a Friday morning because I didn't go to work that night. I took the first one, and then for every 2 hours, I had my alarm clock wake me up so that I could take another pill. So it was like maybe 11 in the afternoon when I woke up. I was having some cramps, but it wasn't awful or anything. And that lasted for like an hour, and then they started getting real. And so my husband went and got us something to eat because I wasn't gonna be able to cook. And while he was gone, they got real. Like I was calling him, asking him where he was and how far away he was. He went to Walmart, which is down the street from my house, to get me some Excedrin because I was in a lot of pain. And then I started bleeding really heavy. And I ended up when he got back, I ended up taking a shower to relieve the pain. And let me say this, if you have ever, like if you're pregnant, I didn't experience contractions when I had Jade. She came by miscarriage, and by C-section, and she was 5 weeks early. So I never experienced like real contractions. But when people say like that taking a shower helps, I was under the impression that it really relaxes you and takes away the pain, and that's not it at all. A contraction is like, or at least the way I was feeling it was like someone was squeezing my back, and you can feel it. It starts off mild, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger till, like, you can imagine someone just squeezing so hard that their hands are hurting from squeezing you. That, when you take the shower, it just takes the edge off. Like when you reach like the peak, that's what the shower does. You still feel the pain. It's still there. So anyway, I ended up taking a shower, and I was like popping those Excedrin like they were freaking candies or something. So after like 3 hours maybe, I was able to relax, and I took a nap, and my husband went and got some more food, and we ate dinner, and I was able to sleep through the night, but I was popping the Excedrin. And then I woke up the next day, which was Saturday morning, and I was feeling okay, so we decided to barbecue, but I wanted to like get some stuff done because I didn't know if it was going to start up again. So long story short, it started up again, and I put like a heating pad on my back and on my stomach, and that, again, it helps some, but it's just really horrible. The pain, like, yeah, it's just awful. So I ended up going to the hospital because I was just, like, I felt like I was bleeding too much. I was just really weak, and I couldn't take the pain anymore. Like, I've never been in so much pain that I was screaming until that day. I've never been in so much pain that it sent me to the hospital until that day. So I went to the hospital. They triaged me and everything and got me in the room pretty quick. And then, I got an IV. They gave me some, I think it was called Zofran because I was nauseous. And they gave me something for the pain. They gave me morphine, I think it was, for the pain. And that morphine had my, I felt like my head was too big for my body. when she was putting it, and it works quick. Like, And when the nurse was putting it through the IV, like, she was still pushing the medicine through when I felt like my head was too big for my body. So okay, I'm sorry, the video cut off. So, yeah, where was I? I was saying my head felt like it was too big for my body with that morphine. So, you know, that definitely eased the pain and everything. We were there for a couple of hours because they only had one, at the hospital that I went to, a small hospital in a suburb outside of Atlanta. And they only had one doctor, one OB that was on call in the ER, and she was actually delivering babies. So we were there for about maybe 8 hours or so before she came in the room. And when she came in the room, she, you know, talked to me, asked me what was going on, and decided that she was just going to send me home with pain meds, the good stuff. So she was going to do that, but I hadn't had a pelvic exam since I'd been there, so she decided to do that first. And when it's about to be TMI. This is about to be TMI. But when, I don't know what it's called, you know when you get a PAP and they insert that thing into you? So when she did that, something came out, and I heard the nurse ask her, she was like, was that it? And the doctor, you know, she's like, I think so. So instead of sending me home with the pain meds, she decided to just take it out. She said she could see it. It was right outside of my cervix, I think she said. And so she got whatever tools that they needed, and she pulled it out, which was not pain like the contractions. I've never felt anything like that before. The horror. But she did, it was uncomfortable. And so they pulled that out, and then she put it in a specimen jar, like, you know, when you go to the doctor and they have you pee in a cup, it looked like that. She put it in there, and it was just really horrific. She just left it on the table. I guess she left it on the table for the nurse to take it out, and the nurse didn't take it out. So it was just there. And then after that, they just gave me the Pitocin. They gave me the Pitocin, and it took an hour, I think, for that to finish going through the IV. And then after that, she sent me home with something called Metrogen and some prescription strength ibuprofen or something like that. And after that, I really didn't have any pain. Like, it was off and on for like maybe 2 days after that, but it wasn't anything that the ibuprofen couldn't take care of. And then I returned back to work. But yeah, that's why I've been gone. My husband and I have decided to just put the baby making plans. I mean, that pregnancy was a surprise anyway. Not that we weren't happy, but it was a surprise. We decided to just put that on hold for a while. Yeah, and I'm gonna get pregnant again. You know, I believe it. I lost my first baby, and I think 4 months later, I got pregnant with Jade. I don't plan to get pregnant in 4 months this go around, but I lost that baby, and I'm just trying to look at it like, you know, if I would have carried it to term, it may not have even survived outside of me, or it may have been, you know, sick or something like that. And I know God is going to bless my husband and I with another baby sooner or later. There was a time in my life, there was a time when I didn't think I would have any children. And here, I've been pregnant now 3 times. I have one healthy child, so it'll happen again for us. Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to share that, but it's easier to talk about now that I feel like I've dealt with it. Then, of course, right after it happened. So, yeah, I guess I just wanted to explain where I had been, and I'm gonna start back with the videos now. I'm better now, and So yeah, I'm gonna start back with the videos and focus on my health. Yeah, so that's all. Thanks for watching and listening to my long story. I will catch y'all later. Peace.